Welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, where we talk about fitness, health, and anything to help you become the most optimal human beings. Let's dive into it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
How's it going, man? It's been feel like it's been a while. On our time, it's been a while.
Yeah, not for everyone else. We've been around, right?
It's magic.
Yeah. I've been gone. I've been out of town for 2 weeks.
Literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, middle of nowhere. It was quite interesting, but I'm not going to start with updates. I don't like starting with updates. I like for you to start with updates. But first, if we have any new listeners, I just want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for trying it out. If this is your first podcast episode, welcome. So kind of the structure here for the most part, Joe and I will talk about our personal lives for no reason at all for a few minutes. And then we'll hop into some science that we've uncovered or just some new studies. And really we're giving you the coach's take of what we feel was important. We're not trying to pretend like we're scientists or that we know how the study should have been done better, unless it is from a coaching perspective there. And then we'll talk about our topic today is kind of answering some questions we normally ask Garage Gym athletes, and then we will get into the Meet Yourself Saturday workout. But before we dive any deeper, I just kind of want to throw it out there. Like, we do not have any sponsors on this podcast, period. And it's not because we can't. We absolutely can have sponsors on here. We turn people down all the time. We're really just not interested. We want to get straight to the content, and we want to keep the community, free of any bias. I don't want to pretend like I love a supplement or a new fitness watch or whatever, and then ultimately I find out I don't like it later on, and so I keep endorsing it even though I don't like it. That'd go against my integrity. So anyway, we don't do any of that stuff. So if you are around and you want to support the podcast, you can do that in two ways that I would really request. The first, if you could just leave a 5-star review, positive comment in your podcast player, that would be awesome. And then if you're on YouTube watching this, subscribe to the channel. Those things alone are super helpful for us. But if you are interested in the training, what really supports the show the most is going to garagegymathlete.com and signing up for a 14-day free trial. But I will step down from all that. If you want to support the show, those are some great ways to do it. But let's get into life. Joe, how have things gone for you? I mean, this is we're actually kind of speaking the first time since I left. So it's like an actual legit update. I don't know what you've been doing or what you've been up to.
I just feel like so much, man. So Liz started school, and with our 3-month-old with Landon, I have, daddy daycare has started. So that's been a huge adjustment and a bit of a struggle. And I'm getting no sympathy from Liz because she was taking care of him basically all day, every day for the first couple of months. And yeah, they have their phases. He has his phases, but next week we have a nanny coming 2 times a week. So that's going to be it's going to feel like a godsend just to have 2 days where I just don't have to worry about him. Cause it's just like a 3-hour rotation of, feeding, nap, stimulating, whatever is going on. I get 30-minute chunks here and there to do work or work out. The plans worked okay so far, but it's just been definitely an adjustment. And on top of adjustments, my back was still kind of hurting. I think I might have mentioned this a couple weeks ago before that I heard it and I had to dial it back. I actually met with the PT online, my old PT that I had when I was in San Diego, and we did a video chat. She assessed me and found what the issue was, which kind of blew my mind because my issue was lower back to the left side of my, behind my hip glute area. So left side, lower back. My issue was my right ankle. And once she broke it down and told me what was happening, I was like, that makes a ton of sense, but I would have never guessed. I thought it was just I know my hips were shifting, but really it was my ankle wasn't collapsing inward. So it was collapsing outward. So my shin was turning out, and my shin turning out caused my right glute to turn off. And then bing, bang, boom, I have a hurt back. So it's just crazy how things are connected and how even if a lot of things of what you're doing and movement and mobility, you still need somebody to actually assess you because you're looking one way and they might actually see another thing, especially that they're actually specialized in. And it's a big help. So I'm still kind of recovering from that. Still have some pain with it. But on top of it, I thought I was still going to be able to do strength track especially because of all the supersets and stuff we have going on. So I was like, all right, I'll just dial it back and practice, this, that, and the other. And I can't be trusted with weight because I still wanted to like even go lightweight, still do certain exercises, and it just made my back feel worse. So I was like, okay, well, I can't be trusted with weight, so I'm gonna move to no gear. So I'm currently on no gear track, and it's been going pretty well because I've kind of wanted to shift and take a break from strength anyway and do body weight stuff just because I want to get better and back to some body weight things. And with no gear, I can still slap on my vest and make it harder. And my legs are sore right now from it. So no gear is still not exactly easy, but it's definitely helping me to do that. And it also makes me because I can usually get through the body weight stuff faster than 5 blocks. So it gives me like an extra 15 minutes or so of warm up time to do my PT regimen that my PT gave me, so that I actually like get my back better, get to moving better, get to my ankle, fixed and all that stuff. So kind of a lot update wise, but yeah, a lot of adjustments, both training and um, work and whatnot. But yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
That
I
is a
mean,
lot, dude.
you got to catch up.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not saying you said too much. I'm saying like that's a lot to like just be handling. I've never done the childcare thing. Not gonna lie, I have 3 kids, and Emily's been there for for most of that. And I mean, I've definitely had to like step in and everything, but never like fully adjust my schedule. I've always been just fully dedicated to work, so I know that that's a lot. And then, dude, the lower back is like the worst. So I feel like I'm finally. Has it been 2 years? I don't know. I can't even like when I initially hurt my back, or maybe it's only been a year. I don't know. Maybe time is like some weird warp now, but it just same thing. Like I hurt my lower back, and initially I was like, I'm just gonna go, lightweight, lower weight. Like I just won't lift as much. That should be fine. But then my back kept getting worse, and then activities just kept getting eliminated from my. I was like, okay, well, I can't do heavy squats. And it was like, well, maybe you just can't squat. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try and deadlift with a trap bar because it's still got some quadricep activation. And then it's like, oh, but you can't go too heavy on that either. And I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll just do a little bit more cardio. I was like, I'll run. It's like, oh, running hurts your lower back. It's like, oh, fine, I'll bike. Oh, biking hurts your lower back. And so
Yeah.
you really have to just like find out what you can do and do it. And that's essentially what I did. I followed the programming to the best of my ability, while avoiding things that like even somewhat hurt my back. While I still did exercise, try and strengthen it, and did some PT and everything. And I'm finally back to normal, but it took forever, man, to the point where I never want to mess up my lower back again. And for me, it was a combination of BCT and broad jumps that ultimately I think what triggered it. And just which is a really aggressive squat volume for anybody who hasn't been around outside of our programming. Even it's not even like, hey, what are these 2 idiots doing, like talking about getting injured in their own programs for? Like we just tend to push ourselves outside of our limits at times, because we don't listen to our own advice. But yeah, as far as me life wise, I don't have a lot of updates. I've been gone for 2 weeks up in Idaho, Wyoming, Montana. I just tried to make that all one word for a second. Yeah, so I was up in that area for 2 weeks on vacation, and Joe's right. I basically couldn't communicate with the team. Like we were in the middle of nowhere. We started over Yellowstone National Park, which was cool, but I could skip that. If I never see Yellowstone again, I'm completely fine with that.
Bunch of volcano stuff. Yeah.
It's cool and all, but like it's basically Disney World for the outdoors. There's like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people there. It's so crowded. I prefer outdoors that you have to earn. Like I'm not gonna see some. Well, I don't. Never mind. I'm not gonna go down that route. I don't want to offend anybody. But let's just say there won't be 5,000 people at the top of a mountain. You might see one other human being up there with you.
Buses to the peaks and stuff.
Yeah, that was my problem with it. It's just like there was nothing earned about that nature, and maybe that's just been my experience with nature so far. With hiking and climbing is like you always have to earn that view. You have to earn that beauty, and when you don't, it gets oversaturated and packed. So it was very beautiful. It was cool. I saw grizzly bear. I saw like moose. I saw elk. I saw like buffalo, bison. Like I saw all these cool things, but and all of Yellowstone's absolutely beautiful. But we went to the other side of Idaho, where like the Idaho Rocky Mountains are at, and population of the town that we stayed in was 18. That was more my style. Could not use my cell phone, like in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Like that was amazing. So it was a really good time. But fitness was actually much harder to fit in than I thought it was going to be, just with how busy we were. And then we'd go on a hike, and I would always start my watch on the hike as like, okay, this might be the workout today. We'll see. But it would always be dependent on how hard the hike was. And if the hike was like, if it was like a zone 1, zone 2 hike, maybe you can count that once in a week, but I wouldn't count it over again. But then there were 3 hikes where I carried my daughter, who is 40 pounds, for at least 5 miles. I counted all of those. There are 3 of them
I was gonna say
3 of them in 2 weeks, because there were like, I mean, some of them had like 2,000 foot ascents, 1,500, something like that. And she couldn't do it. She could not go up that elevation. She'd like stop and be like, I need help. I'd be like, I'm just carrying you the whole time. and so I carried her up and down these like mountains. And like, I was in zone 4 for some of those ascents because of how much she weighed. And some of those were at like 9,000 feet. And it's like, you're already like resting in zone 2, like, so anyway, it was good, but I fit them all in there. I did like a bunch of little burpee workouts, some runs. I got it all done. I am still in the 300 challenge. I didn't think I would make it, but I'm still in after 2 weeks in the wilderness. So I'm good.
Yeah, don't ask me how I'm doing on 300.
Yeah, how's that going?
I'll check in once I'm healed and I can have like another 5-week stint of 7 days in a row. Then I'll probably be back on it. But
right now you're 200.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens in September.
200, 300 hopeful.
Yeah.
All right.
But your trip definitely has inspired what I brought up, that we're gonna have a GGA ranch at some point. We're just gonna have a ranch, get a couple of acres, and so if you want to help, contribute toward the ranch, then sign up for a 14-day free trial. Get a friend to sign up for a 14-day free trial, because we want a ranch, and once we have a ranch, we can host fun things.
Yeah, it's actually fractional real estate ownership. So if you sign up for membership, we'll grant you whatever percentage portion that is on an annual basis.
It's exactly one workout square.
Yeah. Or it's going to be time based, like a timeshare. So you can come visit the ranch for 47 seconds per year. No, that would be awesome. That is the dream. Have a ranch that people could come, like do events, workouts. Because if we had our own Spartan race level ranch, no one would want to do it, but people would do it. It'd be awful.
It would be like their top tier one where X amount of people don't finish.
That would be the goal. Except I let people sleep, because I like to sleep. So you get plenty of sleep.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get in the study?
Yeah.
All right. So this one is called Activation Training Facilitates Gluteus Maximus Recruitment During Weight-Bearing Strengthening Exercises. This was done in 2022. So this one's pretty simple. So subjects perform glute activation training twice per day for a week. The training consisted of isometric clamshells, side laying, hip abduction, and fire hydrants. Before and after the week glute activation training, gluteus maximus EMG was assessed during bilateral and unilateral bodyweight squats. During both bilateral and unilateral bodyweight squats, glute EMG increased by 50% on average. Let's see. They were really just trying to see what glute activation could do, if it could help more with more muscle recruitment. They measured that through EMG. 12 subjects, 5 females, 7 males, all physically active and not actively engaged in resistance training. And if they had any problems, they were essentially left out. And the exercises are pretty straightforward. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I need to hit. That's the basics of the study. But one thing I just wanted to like kind of hit on is this is not like necessarily a new concept in the fitness world, but it is cool that they are bringing more research to it, because I feel like this is it's almost been like a bro science, not truly a bro science, but something you might hear a coach say, and you're like, I don't know if that's true, man. Like, I don't know if these exercises are going to help me better, like make my squat better or bigger or whatever. And so the whole idea behind it is just learning how to activate certain muscles pre-training. And so then when you start training, they're more activated and they are recruited more during the workout. Now, my personal pushback on this study specifically, yeah, the people are active and whatever, but they couldn't be too into the sport, right? They couldn't be like, oh, I squat heavy all the time. Yeah, that couldn't be who it is. And I personally don't think that you're making these leaps and bound squat gains without knowing how to recruit your glutes. That's just kind of one of my cons to the overarching study, but I still think there's a lot that we can pull out and talk about for the study as far as maybe takeaways for a garage gym athlete. But what were your thoughts on the study, Joe?
Yeah, the non-resistance training on this one, I mean, yeah, they're active, but I think you would need to have to show resistance training to have a really to make this even more pronounced of a study. Because they're going to know how to recruit it. But like you could just have any sort of like 1 day tutorial on how to flex your butt, and like the next day or two come back, like, practice once, come back, and I bet you they're going to be better at it just because it's like, oh hey, I know how to use this now. And I mean it might be a small gain, but I think even with I do still think even with resistance training people, it would show that it helps because me personally, just like we were talking about the back thing, before I squat, I always do some glute isolation and activations and things to where I'm actually like making sure that they're firing. And I think, I mean, tiny study, no control group. I think what would be a really good control group for this one is, and ones that we've done in the past, there's some studies to where they get verbal cues like while lifting,
Mm-hmm.
and people getting verbal cues makes them pay attention to it. But I would like to compare verbal cues versus actual activation and see if there was a profound difference, if or even the combination of both. um so this is why it's good to have all these studies. But hmm,
I was just saying, I feel like that's the hardest part of coaching when I first started coaching. Because typically when you start coaching, you've already been into fitness for a long time, or at least in my case, and a lot of people I know and colleagues and friends and stuff, like you have a personal interest. So maybe you've been doing it 5, 10 years before you even start any sort of professional journey. And then you realize how much people don't know who are getting into it. And so it is a sign of a bad coach when someone's struggling and the coach is saying, activate your lats. Like that doesn't make any
mhm.
sense to someone who doesn't know how to do it. And so that the hardest part of coaching for me when I actually coached people in person was learning ways without like Googling or YouTubing it of like how to get someone to activate the muscles I want them to without just saying do that thing, without saying activate your glutes or activate your lats. It's like you have, and we talked about this in the verbal cues podcast that we did in the study we went over. Like you have to find the right kind of cue that gets the person to do what you want without having to say the specific outcome of like a muscle group activation. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
and
difficult.
it's good you bring up the lats thing too, because like with pull-ups, one of the biggest struggles that people have that they can't do pull-ups is they're trying to pull with their arms and they're not activating their lats. And you could tell
Right.
somebody all day, use your lats, but like that's one of the harder muscles to actually like do because it's just a foreign kind of thing. You're not used to pulling something in that sort of fashion, even though it's such a large muscle. So you have to like break down what you're doing and do some activation. So if you're struggling with pull-ups, like look up lat activations, and this goes for a lot of different movements of what to activate, because even just like sitting on the ground and doing banded pull downs and really slow and controlled to use for pull down. I mean, this is going off of the study, but like that sort of activation can make a huge difference. And you might not even be getting that much profoundly stronger, but if you're using the right muscles, then it's going to make a big difference, like leaps and bounds. This is also why it's just good to have all the like smaller movements practice, and why we do body geometry for the glute activations for these unilateral movements and iso holds, because we really want you to be making sure you're activating things that aren't just the compound movements, which since you're using so many muscles they could get lost in the fray. But when you're breaking things down for more activation with a purpose, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's old man strength.
Yeah.
We talk about this, but when people talk about old man strength, because like old dudes, they just have like this crazy grip strength that younger dudes might not have or whatever, and it's all about like the real answer there is muscle recruitment. Like they can recruit more muscles. So it's really whoever can recruit more muscles wins. So you can do all this hypertrophy training and have bigger muscles, but when it comes down to using them for strength, if you cannot activate them at the right time, you'll be weaker. You won't be able to lift as much. And so the real win is getting bigger muscles and also being able to recruit and use all of those muscles um, when you're trying to do some sort of strength activity. That's what makes you the strongest. So this stuff's important. It's important to learn how to do either through warm up or direct training. But I think it's important. Glutes is a big one, and I think honestly, if I had to narrow it down, I'd say glutes and lats. I don't know if there's any other muscle group that I'm like people just really struggle to learn how to activate, but those are the two that I think people struggle with the most in actually using. That limits, like the lats don't just limit your pull-ups, they limit your deadlift, they limit kettlebell swings, and then same with your glutes are gonna basically limit anything that you do in the lower body. Like they can same deadlifts are going to be limited, squats are going to be limited, any sort of power based movement is going to be limited. So you really need to learn these things. It could be like the key to unlocking your true potential if you feel like you have like the muscle mass, but you're not like moving the numbers that you feel like you should be.
Yeah. And I mean, in my case with my back injury, my one glute was basically turning off. And that's just a specific incident. But if you're not firing the right way, then it could also lead to injury or imbalances and overcompensating one way or the other. A lot of things with the going back to the pull-ups, if you can't activate your lats and you're pulling with your arms, well, you're also going to shrug. So your shoulders are going to be your traps are going to be hyper just going to be overused, and it could just be too much tension there. You're not supposed to be shrugging and like that's sort of tensing up. So just things like that. But going back to the glutes and the activation, I found another study. So it helps for strength, and we saw that even though these were non-resistance training people, they got stronger. But there was another study that I found that actually tested. There were 49 amateur athletes in an 8-week program. So not just 1 week of activation. This is a long 8-week program. And they had a control group. One group had glute activation. The other group did not. And they did 5 exercises 3 times a week. Also, basically basically the same exercise that the other ones did. Jump height increased 17% in the glute activation one versus 3% in not. And then power increased 4.5% in the glute activation one and versus 0.3% in the control group. So pretty significant changes to jump and power and being explosive, which we do a lot of. And so if you wanted to get, more explosive as well, making sure you're activating your glutes regularly and like on a long-term basis, just doing some extra glute exercises will make you more powerful, which then will make you stronger. And, if you're maybe struggling for that plate jump that comes up every fifth week or something like that, then extra glute work could really be a key to helping.
Yeah. And I think my takeaway for athletes is just kind of, I mean, you could look at specifically like go do glute activation or go learn how to activate your lats. I mean, those are good takeaways, but another takeaway is just don't ignore the small stuff. I know that we can all get like really focused on just the one thing that we are trying to achieve, if that's lifting more weight or running faster, but it can be at the expense of these smaller things like the annoying exercises that we do during body geometry weeks, right? Like I don't want to do the unilateral like bottoms up kettlebell press, like all these kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. That kind of stuff can happen. Or you can like neglect mobility. Like there are a lot of areas outside of the core training that cannot be neglected if you want to be injury free and actually achieve your goals. And so that's my takeaway for this one, and kind of how people could kill comfort in the process of following something like this is just sometimes killing comfort is not pushing yourself harder in the activity that you want to do. It's making sure the supporting activities are also taken care of, even if that's not what you want to be doing.
Yep, it's not always sexy, but pretty necessary.
All right, we can move on to the topic. So I guess I'll ask you, man. Recent meet yourself moment. So these are questions that we normally ask athletes who have been interviewed and are coming back on for a second interview. And I was like, realized that Joe and I had not answered them ourselves, even though we had interviewed a few people who had answered them. So what's up, man? And you can't say waking up in the middle of the night and feeding your son. That's not.
So I can't say anything baby related.
No baby related answer. No, I'm kidding. You say whatever you
Damn.
want. What's a recent meet yourself moment?
I mean, that was definitely up there. Even though it's funny because like for years people would so sometimes say this, and now I'm finally getting the chance to, because he's basically rejected the bottle, and it's just like impossible to get him to eat. And Liz is at school, and I'm just like, oh my god, I need help. Yeah, I get that. That's a lot. I'd say for training wise, I don't really know. Like, it's mostly just been like the struggles with the kid, because I was just haven't never taken care of a kid before.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
like every garage gym athlete's answer to like building mental toughness is like have kids. Like you're starting to understand the
Yeah, I
truth
haven't
in that.
built it yet. I'm still building it. It's still pretty new. So, and we're one and done. So, like, yeah, I'll build it. I don't know. Would you got something for this?
Yeah, I would say, because if we're going with recent, I would bring up the
See,
hike
recent's
that I
hard for
just
me
went on.
because my injury. So, like, I can't even push it very hard, and that's kind of like a
What do we say
segues
this
into the next
year?
one,
Have
which
you met yourself this year, 2022?
um, yeah, I think honestly, it's a lot of times it's anytime I do Murph practice. I think came up a couple of months ago, because I won't regularly do it, and this is why I also want to do the body weight, the no gear, because I need to get back doing body weight stuff. And I used to be really good at it, but anytime that comes up, Murph practice, it's 20 minutes of basically Cindy, but with a vest. And anytime I do it, like the first 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, cool. And then after 10 minutes, I'm just like, holy crap! You start to struggle, and I'm trying to keep that pace and intensity. And then I just realizing how much my body weight stuff can kind of suffer and suck a little bit. And yeah, that's always a hard one. I want to get back to doing it a little bit more regularly, but yeah.
All right, so I just want to. I'll start with just talking about meeting yourself in general. I feel like it's evolved a lot over the years from when I first started that term, meeting yourself. A lot of that started when I was doing Murph and like pushing myself to zone 4 and zone 5. But I feel like I've learned so much about myself, my performance. It's actually become a lot harder to meet myself because I can like have a heart rate monitor on and be in zone 5, but there's like no meeting me anywhere. It's just like I know that I'm at the max intensity, and like I can't push it past the beats per minute. I can't go any harder, so um and when I do, I could actually end up hurting myself. Like I feel like that might be like a negative of getting to know yourself too well. So anyway, it has evolved a lot for me. It's not really pushing yourself harder anymore. It's more when I find myself in situations where something was unexpected, and that's also becoming more and more rare. So I'm not saying it's impossible to meet myself. I'm just saying it's become more challenging. Even in the harder meet yourself Saturday workouts and stuff, it's more challenging to actually find a version of me that wants to quit or doesn't want to do this thing. That's become very challenging, and I think that's good. I think that's the actual building the mental toughness muscle. But we were talking about at the beginning, carrying my daughter up those hikes. My meet yourself moment was we did 2 of those hikes in one day. So we did an extremely long hike, and I carried her the entire time. And this was probably a 6-mile hike. And then we were done, and I was like, we were eating lunch at the base of the mountain, and we had kind of decided we were done for the day, but we were there with some friends, and they're like, hey, we're going to ride this gondola up to the top of this mountain because it's like a summer ski mountain. and we're gonna do it. It's a really flat hike. Like it's a hike. It's like a mile long, but you get this really cool view. And I was like, I don't want to hike anymore today, but I'll see what my wife wants to do. And Emily's like, yeah, come on, it's flat. It's only a mile. Like we'll do it. And I was like, okay. I said, just so you know, I don't want to carry Eleanor for this hike. Like I was like, I'm just kind of done. So I was like, if you think that's going to happen, I don't really want to go. And she's like, no, they said it's flat. Like it'll be fine. And I was like, okay. So we ride the gondola up, and then we get off, and then we're at the start of the hike, and I've just looked straight up, and it is pure ascent. And I turned my Garmin on because I'm like, all right, well, I want to see what it is. And I was like, well, I'm not carrying Eleanor. Like, let's just see how far she makes it. And I was like joking with my friend. I was like, I bet she makes it 100 yards. She made it 10 yards when we started because it immediately started uphill.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, great. She's not moving. She doesn't want to do it. She's a 4-year-old. Like she's already been on her hiking limit for the day. It's not like I actually carried her 100% of the last hike. Maybe it was like 80 or 90%. So she already did a lot of walking for a 4-year-old. So she doesn't want to do it either. And I can't like back out now and be like, well, I'm going down. See you guys later. So put her on my back and start walking. It was a 400-foot ascent with her on my back, with all these switchbacks. And this is a very high elevation one. So I'm like struggling the whole time. And when we finally get close to the top, I look at my watch, and we were at 1.7 miles of this 1 mile hike. And we get there at the top, and then they're like, okay, now we do like this big loop, and then it'll come back to here, and then we'll go down. And I was like, okay, 1.7 plus 1.7 is 3.4. I don't know how long this loop is, but it's got to be at least a mile. So we're at 4.4, and I've already done 6 today. And I was like, I absolutely, once we got to that loop part, did not want to do it at all. Like I had already kind of put on my mental toughness hat for the ascent, and that was like way more than I had bargained for. And then there was like whatever 3 or 4 miles still like left before the thing would be over. And I did meet myself on that hike because I didn't want to do it at all. I had like set it, I preset it at the bottom of the mountain. I set it at the top of the mountain, and then I still had to do it anyway. So anyway, it's not a complaint. I love that I did it, and like it's done. But I did meet myself because there was no part of me that wanted to do that at all. I had to change and reframe the conversation in my head but that's what's so good about like having these skills and being aware of it is like, I didn't sit there and like bitch and moan for the rest of the trip. It's a short meet yourself. It's like I met myself for like 60 seconds because I got really frustrated, and I was like, you know what? I said this was going to happen at the bottom of the mountain. It's happening. Like, and then I was just like, reframe. Everything's fine. Like, whatever. You train for this kind of crap. Just do it. Like, you'll be fine. And so I did it, and whatever. But I did come to that where I had to have that mental conversation and change myself. So that was my recent meet yourself.
Yeah. So takeaway is don't trust that person anymore.
Oh no, we joked about it for like the rest of the trip because like anytime she would say like we need to go check something out, she'd be like, it's not that far away, and we're like, yeah, I'm sure it's really flat too. Like it's just like such BS. So you have no frame of reference for these things.
Yeah, show me on all trails. What it
is. Yeah. How about you pull it up? I don't know what I was thinking though. Like we're gonna go to the top of a mountain, and there's gonna be a flat hike. Like I kind of thought that we were like at the summit or something. I was like, maybe we're gonna just walk around it, but there's no flat hikes on a mountain. Like there's only one way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're in a gondola, maybe like there could be some, but still, because sometimes with like skiers and snowboarders, there's like getting in between the slopes.
That's
I
true.
don't know.
Yeah, so you're right. I should have been thinking that it was a possibility. All right, but let's get to the next one. Recent struggles. I feel like we kind of covered that as well, but I think I know what your recent.
Yeah, I mean, it's my back and trying to get through the workout. I mean, trying to get my workouts in my small windows that I have. It kind of works out in the morning if we wake up on the right time and his schedule goes well, and like Liz gets hers knocked out, and then I go out real quick, and then I come in and she goes to class. So like timing wise, it's been okay. We're starting to get the hang of it, but just making sure that the workout I can handle it with my back and getting through the warm up and like going a little bit slower and being more attentive to how I'm moving, especially like anything lower body. Like for the first couple days, I was only doing upper body stuff because I knew I really didn't want to chance it with even like air squats and stuff. But now I'm going through air squats really slow, basically tempo, even though most of what No Gear is programmed is tempo anyway. So that definitely helps. It helps me like to really assess how I'm moving. So that's definitely the struggle is just working out. Like every workout, I have to assess to see, okay, can I do this? How am I going to do this? I need to make sure I'm hitting this the right intent, right everything, intensity. Um, I really want to get back to running, but I don't want to like. I ran a couple weeks ago. I ran like 5 miles, and my back felt great during and even afterwards. But then my groin on my right side started hurting really bad afterwards. And then
Yeah.
later on that night, my back started to hurt, and it's just like, what the hell,
That was
man?
my problem. Like it wasn't like I'm running and like, oh, my back hurts. It's like everything was after the fact. It'd be like, wait, why does my back hurt so bad today? It's like, oh, you ran yesterday. It's like, is it related? Like, seems to be. This is your fourth time. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it's almost a good thing because of the baby schedule now. Because the last 2 weeks, I'm like, all right, I just want to go on around. I'm just gonna go like zone 2, 3 miles. Shouldn't be hard, but like the schedule just didn't align because I can't leave the house with him. So it's like, okay, well, I have to do something else. So it's kind of like saved me from myself a little bit. And now, I have the spin bike pulled out now, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do a bike after this because biking seems to be. It wasn't okay at first, but now it's kind of okay. But that's like the struggle is just I need to make sure that I can still get some workouts in, make sure I'm doing stuff because I was like June was kind of a crapshoot for a prime injury and being sick on top of those things. So I need to make sure I'm getting the workouts in, but also I can't just keep taking steps back for my back. So yeah, that's definitely a struggle for, and it seems like a crazy struggle of like people saying like, or me saying like to other people because like, oh, I just can't work out as hard or as much, and it's like, oh, well, that's easy. Well, when you've been working out 5 days a week for years, then it's kind of like a shift because if I'm going to work out, I want to make it kind of worth it to a certain extent and not just be like, oh, maybe I sweated a little bit. Don't know. I guess that was a workout, and you just don't feel as accomplished. But just yeah, finding the middle ground, but still staying safe and getting things done.
yeah, I would say most of those were my struggles earlier this year, or at least the lower back stuff and finding out what to do. My biggest problem was that as it ended up like forcing me into my garage only, and I didn't like that. I don't like not being able to leave the garage, either on a bike or a run, and it doesn't have to be like daily, just like once a week, something like get me out of this box. Um, that was the biggest struggle I had when my back was hurt because I was just kind of confined to doing activity that was only in the garage. But I'd say if I had to pick a struggle for right now, I'm a little too optimistic because I'm so happy that my back is feeling better that I don't feel like there are any struggles other than Texas heat. I mean, it's crazy hot. What's funny, so my garage is insulated now. We got it insulated last year, and that keeps it lower temperature. It normally it keeps it like 5 degrees lower than the temperature outside. That's all the insulation really does. But pre-insulation, it would get like 20 degrees hotter than the temperature outside. So that's the swing. So if it's 100, the garage would be 120. Right now, if it's 100, the garage would be 95. So
It's
like,
that Bahrain filter.
yeah, it's a massive, like it's not a 5 degree, like, oh, you paid to have it insulated, it's a 5 degree. No, it's a 25 degree difference in being cooler. But what I also found was like if I like turn on, I got that huge fan to try and cool things down, but it like sucks air in from the outside. And so what that actually does is raises the temperature of my garage from when I start to when I finish 5 to 7 degrees. So like I'll walk in, it'll be like 102 outside, and then I'll look at I have a thermometer in there, and it's like, oh cool, it's 95, 96 right now. Like that's hot, but like whatever. And then I turn on the fan, and immediately, like by the time I'm done my warm up, it's up to like 99. I'm like, what's going on? And then by the time I finish my workout, it is just the temperature outside. It's like 102 outside, it's 102 in the garage. So that fan is nice because it like kills the stagnant air, but it makes it hot. But really, that's the only struggle I can think of, and it's really not a struggle because my silver lining on the heat is like it's better for you anyway to get some of that hyperthermic conditioning. And so, yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, there's part of me that misses the heat. Like those workouts did suck, and while during, like just completely drenched in sweat. It was like even just lifting weights. It was zone 2, zone 3, and just I'm just lifting weights and like with rest periods and all that. And it's hard and it's rough, but I definitely recommend people to don't like avoid the heat because especially if you're somebody that is like obsessed with watching the clock or your performance and everything. You just need it's a timeout from performance because your performance metric are just going to be to the crap. So you just do the workout, get through it because like on the mental and like physical side and all that, but it's just like mentally a break of um, metric chasing and paying attention to that. You're just getting a workout in, and you might do less. You might it's going to be more of a struggle, and you might go slower, and you have to dial it back a whole lot more. But like those workouts are some of the ones that I just felt the best afterwards. To a certain extent, I mean, sometimes that just went a little too far, and I almost fainted. But you just need to eat a little bit better, feel
It's
a little better.
such a weird gauge that just, and I've been training in Texas forever. This is nothing new, but it's just such a weird gauge because if we looked at volume equated to intensity over the course of a year, like it's insanity the difference because when it's like 65 degrees in my garage, my power output, how much volume I can put in before getting to like zone 4 is insane. Like I could just I have a very high capacity. And then like today I was working out and I honestly was like touching zone 4 like by the end of the warm up because I did like a kind of aggressive warm up and it's the temperature plus the activity, you know, so it kind of lowers your ability to be intense and do things unless you just want to like stay in this zone 4, zone 5. But it's crazy too because when we started this 300 challenge, sometimes a 300 calorie workout would be difficult. Like, because we started in January, like my garage could be like 40 or 50 degrees. And I mean, I might be at the end of the workout and it'd be like, dee, 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 like, got you good. Congratulations. You got to 300 calories. And I'm like, damn, that was hard. And now it's like 22 minutes into the workout and it's like, okay, you're good. 300 calories. It's insanely different. All right,
Yeah,
man. The last
I
one. What training are you looking forward to?
um
Got any events or anything? Or are you going to stay away from trying to plan any of that while the wee
yeah, I mean,
ones?
there's definitely the event in Arizona that I really want to do. That a couple of like Jason Wood, I think Dr. Morrissey and Sensei Morgan are all thinking about doing in Arizona. Sounds awesome because it's like trail running plus sandbag carries kind of thing. But I just need to get back to like, yeah, I want to do it, but I need to be able to actually run and be fine. And then we're talking about a weighted carry on top of that, which I think I'll be fine with it, but I just need to actually like do that. So I looking forward, keeping with the body weight. I'm happy with it now. Getting back to running, my back's felt, in the last couple of days, each day it's felt a little bit better. There's times where, especially waking up in the morning, or honestly, a lot of things that kill it are just the thing, are stuff with Landon because I have to hold him or pick him up a certain way. I can't really be like, no, I can't do that because I have to sit a certain way, or my back is just like, well, I'm just gonna suffer through it with him if like I'm holding him to go to sleep or something. But getting through, working on the body weight stuff, and getting back to running, and then increasing as I go with that. I'll be low now, but I think it'll be nice once it's actually pain free. I'll be much more encouraged to get out there and run more. Do some Murph practice, do some more intense body weight workouts. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and then hopefully getting some events going. I really do want to do some events. I was trying to find some around here, just get some, just do something to get something, whether it's trail runs, especially if I'm doing like a bigger event, and then trying to meet up with people if anybody wants to. I think it'd be nice to, now that I'm in the States, now that events are happening again, I would definitely like to, but just got to work up to it.
Yeah, I would. I definitely don't have any event that is in the short term that I'm looking forward to. I would say I'm kind of looking forward to two. So I mentioned I just did a stadium race with my brother at the AT&T Stadium here in Dallas, and I'm gonna do another one of those. So I'm looking forward to that, but I don't know which one I will do. Like I haven't picked it out yet, and honestly, it might just be the next one in Dallas next summer. Like I'm not gonna like try and chase this down. But I
I'm
would
much
like
more
to
likely to
do.
do a stadium one
Oh
because
yeah,
I don't the mud is just stupid. It's just like annoying at some point. Yeah, it makes some things difficult, but it's just an annoyance.
yeah. And I want to go through a Spartan race as fast as I can. And I've only ever done that one time, and that was when I did a beast by myself. Every other time I've either been with like trying to stay with the team, or that's the only thing. I'm not trying to blame anybody here, but like I've always stayed with the team, and so I'll help people over obstacles. I'll do the obstacle and wait or whatever. I've never tried to do one as fast as I can, and part of the reason I don't care about like trying to do a beast as fast as I can is because I still know I'm nowhere close to competitive in a beast because I just don't have the endurance for that. A stadium, I'm not saying like I think I'd get like on the podium type, but I think I could do pretty well on the stadium races because I saw what some of the top guys times were that, and I was like, you know what, I feel like I could get close, like within um, striking distance of some of those things, because I think my fitness level holds up pretty well to anything under an hour. I mean, that's what I've been training for like my whole life, basically. So anyway, that is one thing I'm looking forward to, and then the Hotter than Hell 100. So that's a 100-mile bike race that happens in Wichita Falls, Texas, once a year in August. I'm not doing it this year. I could. I think my back is ready for that to happen, but that's all been like relatively recent, and so I haven't been training. And I've already done the bike race, having not trained before. I checked that off, and I'm not doing that one again. So 100-mile bike race, untrained, check. In the future, I will only do 100-mile bike races trained. So that's 13 months away from now, but I'm still looking forward to it because I think I will do next August, and I'll train most of this year, or I'll be on the bike a lot more to be able to execute that race properly without it just being a practice of mental toughness. But I don't know. Maybe I'll sign up last minute because if we have the extreme temperatures we've been having, I almost can't pass it up. Like if it's going to be
I was
like,
waiting for like because like two like one of them like I think your second time you did it you were like the week of or the week before, and that's why actually the one that I came to you were booking it like the week of because it was like the last hotel that had
yeah,
availability.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think I'm going to do it, but if they're like record temperatures in Wichita Falls, like I might just be like, well, let's see what this is like. Um,
One or two
so
of our athletes are doing it.
who's doing it?
I
You
don't
got
know the
names?
names. I don't know. I'm bad with names, but I know I've recently spoken to people with whether it via email because they were asking like how should I adjust programming, conditioning, and stuff because I want to get ready for the hotter than hell. So if you're doing it, hit us up on the Facebook or something, and we'll
Well, if you're doing it because you thought
yeah
I was doing it, then send me a message and make me feel guilty, and maybe I will do it. um, for any athletes out there, seriously, like you can message me on Instagram or shoot us an email or something, and that might change the fact quite. I hate letting people down. It's like I
yeah.
can't do it. So if you're doing it because you thought I was gonna be there, then I'll put on that garage gym athlete onesie and I'll hop on the bike and hurt myself.
I
So
really don't know if I could do the 100 because I don't even own a bike. I don't ride a bike. I ride a spin bike, so like it would be cool to go. I could push myself to do the 50 at least. I would have to rent a bike, but this is completely off topic, just whatever. There is a really really cool biking event that I would love to do, and that is um, the name is escaping me now, but it's basically like within a week you bike or for a week you bike from one end of Iowa to the other end of Iowa, and so every day you're biking just straight across from one end of the or one side of the state to the other side of the state.
it's
And
Iowa
it's like yeah, yeah,
or
Iowa,
Idaho?
Iowa.
Because I was
So
just
it's
in
really
Idaho.
flat.
I'd go back to Idaho.
Iowa. So cornfields, flat, but you
Oh,
go through all
yes.
these towns and do all these things. It sounds really cool. I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's not maybe less intense, but because like at the end of each one, I think you're camping in tents and then you're going again. But again, that's a sleep effect that it's kind of leaving the list for you.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, maybe that's a mental toughness thing I need to practice. I've done a lot of sleep deprivation things over the years, and I'm just like, I get it. Like I get it. I know what that's like. I don't want to do it. unless I have
Yeah,
to.
but
Like,
that was Kilimanjaro for us. That was like the nights were almost some of the roughest parts. The hikes were okay, but like the
well,
night sucked.
yeah, 3 kids. I've done that a lot. If we had another kid, obviously, I'd have to do it again. So I'll save myself just in case. We're not planning on having any
Ah.
more kids, but I want to keep as much sleep in the tank as I can. I don't want to
Definitely
like
gonna need a ranch.
yeah, in a minivan or like a large SUV or something. No, I don't want any more kids. But that's neither here nor there. I guess we can get to
Yeah,
the
just think back
workout.
to the hiking carrying of a 4-year-old. Like
Yeah,
keep that as a reminder.
but then she'll be able to walk on the next hike by herself, and I'll just be carrying something new. So it just more things to carry for the rest of my life. But
Oh
we'll
man.
get to the workout. It is
Backbone.
backbone for this Meet Yourself Saturday. You have it pulled up?
Yep, I do.
All
So
right, cool.
this one, okay, so I'll just read it real quick. So backbone. It's 1,000-meter row or run, resting 2 minutes, and you're repeating that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So 1,000-meter row or run, rest 2 minutes. 1,000-meter row run, blah blah blah. 5 minutes of that, on and off, 5 rounds. Okay. Once you finish the fifth one, rest 2 minutes. Then you do 50 barbell thrusters, and they should be a relatively heavy weight. So, like going up to 135 for competitors, males, 95 for females, and then so on. But you can choose whatever challenging weight. It should be a challenging weight, though, like not just a one that you're going to string 25, 30 together on, or all 50. So, this one, it's funny because I actually, besides the thruster part, if you take the thruster part out, I like this workout before that, the 5 sets of rowing 1,000 meters with 2 minutes of rest as like just a workout to do. And whenever there's friends that I have who like just get a rower, or they just started at a gym and they want to start rowing, and they're like, well, what's a good rowing workout? I tell them this, like, hey, just do 1,000 meters and then rest 2 minutes and then do it again. And they're like, it kicks your butt, just 1,000 meters on and off, especially if
Isn't it
you
funny
keep a
that's how much
consistent
of
pace.
a foreign concept that is to us? Like when I have a friend who just gets a Peloton, and I'm like, that's all you're just gonna ride a bike? Like, what else are you gonna do? And for them, that's fine. For me, I'm like, that's confusing. Like, how could you only do one thing? But anyway, neither here nor there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the workout, getting back to that, 1,000 meters, 5 sets of that with 2 minutes of rest. The trying this is like this is where a lot of the sustainable and repeatable comes in, like max sustainable and repeatable, to where those are going to be hard. You don't want to blow it out the water in the beginning, because like if you row the first one in, let's see, that would be like 3:30 or something. You just blew it out of the water, and then the next one's like at 3:50, and then you're down to like 4:30, and then or 4:30 plus, and the other ones. Really, you should be hovering around 4 minutes, if depending on what your pace is. Like they give you a good 500-meter pace, and try and keep that for each of the 1,000. It gets pretty rough. Usually, the third one is when I really struggle, and like that does become sort of Meet Yourself there, if you want to say sustainable and repeatable, like max repeatable ability. The fourth one, it's definitely a struggle. With the fifth, it's like, okay, well, this is the last one anyway, and then you rest, and then it's just getting through the thrusters as fast as possible. So that's a little bit of the you know awareness for the workout, for the rowing, because that's the bulk of the workout. And then thrusters is just blow it all out right there, finish strong with good form.
Yeah, and the thrusters are the backbone part of the workout. Like that is why the workout is called backbone, because up until that point, it is just a standard workout. Like you're saying, your backbone, your resolve, your intestinal fortitude, your mental grit is tested with thrusters and how hard you want to go there. So it's a pre-fatigue into, okay, now how can you handle yourself under load and intensity? And so treat the thrusters as such, as what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, a bunch of sets of 2 and 3. Like you're supposed to be pushing yourself to your ability, within the confines of having good form and all that kind of stuff. But definitely go max sustainable and repeatable pace on all of the conditioning side of this. And then after that, just know this is where you're putting on that Meet Yourself hat for the thrusters. And that should be the goal. in those thrusters is to meet yourself and really push yourself hard in the thrusters. I don't have a lot of tips other than like go do the workout how it's supposed to be done and push yourself. Other than that one little thing, like go do it, push yourself and become better for it. Don't think this is like some strength workout where you're trying to get better at thrusters. The thrusters are there to try and break you mentally.
I don't know why, but I've started to like, even though like I don't row that much because I know it's hard, but I've started to like these interval type rowing meet yourself Saturdays because I know it's gonna be rough and meet myself. I know like some of them are a little bit longer too. Cause like River Hikes, the one that I made up, is also 1,000-meter intervals with ground to overheads, ground to shoulders on in whatever weight. But I'm starting to like these because I know they're hard. I know like there's still a pacing, there's still somewhat of a game, but you still have to push yourself at certain moments because while the rowing, it's keeping you tired and fatigued, and it's hard in itself. It's not even the hardest part. It's like your not rest part, but it's like just your standard, your baseline effort part, and then the other part is your meet yourself hard, let's go full out, and then cycling back and forth on either that one. This one is keeping consistent and then finishing strong. So I've definitely started to like these a bit, and yeah, I think these cup rowing intervals are also just great to throw in on like an extra day if you really wanted to throw in something, but as an aside.
I felt the same way about, I'd say it's like the 1,000 meter to 1,200 meter distance, because if you look at it in running, if you're going 400 meters one time, or even if it's interval, that's really fast. You're supposed to do that fast, like 400, and then you move up to 800. Now you're at like, it needs to be fast, but it's gonna be really sucky. Like it's a fast sucky, because it's right before you before you turn it into something way worse. But then if you jump up to 1,600 meters, you're at a mile. So you're far outside of glycolytic for most people. And now you're just at maximum aerobic threshold. And that sucks. That's long sucky.
Classifying musical Saturdays, a short sucky or a long sucky.
And then you have 1,200 meters on a track, or 1,000 meters. And that's like right in that, like, you're outside of glycolytic, so there's no expectation of this like ridiculous pain, right? Like you would in like an 800 meter. But then you're also not necessarily needing to be at this aerobic threshold. So you've just clicked over from like these energy systems, I guess is the best way to put it, to where you can still push yourself really hard and kind of have fun without getting into the sucky. And so that's, I don't even know why I'm talking about it. I like that stuff too, is all I'm trying to say. And so push yourself respectively. All right, that's it. That's all we have for today. You got anything else, Joe?
No, not today.
All right, so we'll wrap it up. Again, if you are new here, you made it through this episode, awesome. Like I said, a couple ways you can support us, even if you're already a Garage Gym athlete. We do not have sponsors on the show, so the only way this podcast keeps going is that more people learn about it. If you want to help us or help other people learn about the show and our programming, what you could do, if you are on YouTube, you could subscribe, comment, like, share the channel. And then also, if you are on the podcast player, you can 5-star review, positive comment. And then also, something I'm going to start encouraging people to do more of, take a screenshot of the podcast and tag us like on Instagram. That way we can know who's there, interact with the community a little bit more. Your friends will see it, post it as a story, whatever, on Instagram. That would be awesome. Another way to get more people to know what we're doing. But if you are part of the community, thank you so much for supporting what we do and being awesome. And anybody who wants to become a part of it, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a 14-day free trial. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.